Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday video. This week's sketch comes to you from My Favorite Things, and I didn't have my phone, so I just drew out a quick sketch of what it looks like. I'm just showing you the supplies that we used. We're going to be using the My Favorite Things donuts dies and also the Lena Lamb Designs donuts and sprinkles stamp set. So those are the donut dies from them. There's actually 5 dies in the set. We're just going to be using the 4 that are the 2 donut bases and the 2 icings. So I'm just showing you here the card base that we're going to use. This is left over from last week's Sketch Sunday project. And this is the washi tape that we're going to use, which is also going to dictate the color scheme of the whole entire thing. I'm showing you the colors of ink that I used. So those were My Favorite Things Hybrid Ink in Craft, in Razzleberry, and we're also going to be using grape jelly. And then for Hero Arts, we're going to be using 2 different color midtones, the bubblegum and grape jelly. So it's going to be all pinks and purples. The first thing I did was I unrolled a little bit of the washi tape and I put it on the side. Just like the side of the sketch showed, there was a little strip down the side. Had to go over and get my scissors. My craft room is a little bit of a mess. We were doing some bachelorette party stuff last night, getting some shirts ready and things like that. And I was up pretty late and didn't have time to clean the craft room, so supplies are all over the place. I tried to gather everything, but I forgot the scissors. So now the front of the card base kind of looks like the sketch. Now it has the stripe down the side. And I'm just putting on the donuts. Now I didn't want so much of the donut hanging off of, which we were going to cut off. I kind of wanted to keep it, most of the donut intact. I was just trying to place out where I wanted my sentiment, if I wanted it down in the middle or more at the top. So I think things look good in odd numbers, so I definitely wanted 3 donuts and then the sentiment in the middle. So there are the jimmies, which I know most people call sprinkles, but in this area we call them jimmies. So I use the single jimmy and I'm going to be using them in a little bit. Now I'm taking some distress ink and coloring 2 of the icing layers just because I wanted it to have a little bit of texture and a little bit more dimension. So that is the picked raspberry, and I'm using my mini ink blending tool to go around the edges and just sponge the icing on. So I left kind of the center a little bit whiter, if you can see, and then just did the outside edges darker. So I did that with the picked raspberry, and then was just cleaning up the craft mat and showing you how the donut looks all put together. I was going to put some jimmies on top of it, but I decided against it. So then the 2 of the smaller donuts, the first one I decided to use 2 different colors of distress ink. Now I could have done that with the first one, use 2 different colors, but I wasn't really loving the way this color was coming out, so the Dusty Concord. I didn't love it. I thought that it should be a little bit of a different color purple, so that's why in a minute I'll get out the Seedless Preserves. And again, I'm doing the same thing, going heavy around the edges and leaving the center a little bit whiter. Then I went back in and added the Seedless Preserves. So there is that ring. And then I wanted to go back and just stamp on the jimmies onto that 3rd one. I didn't want them to all be uniform. And since we were just doing pinks and purples, I thought it would be funny to do another all pink or all purple icing. So I thought that putting the jimmies on would be the best bet. So I'm just taking the layers off of the stamp that I had, and my camera died, so I'm actually back now. And I'm taking that grape jelly, My Favorite Things ink, and just inking up the jimmy and placing it onto the icing a couple times. I'll do the same thing with the bubblegum ink. I started with the 2 lighter colors and then went to the darker just because it's easier to wipe it off of the lighter colors first. It doesn't cross-contaminate so much. And then the next one that I'm using is the Razzleberry ink, that dark pink ink. And then I'll go back in with the grape jelly ink and stamp a couple more. Now when I stamped the jimmy, I was turning it around to all different sides so that it wouldn't look too uniform. I'm just covering as much of the icing as I possibly could. So cleaning off the stamp set and then putting it, I'm going to put that together and try to place it. So first I'm cleaning off my mat. So if you guys don't know, that's a craft mat, a non-stick craft mat. They're fantastic to use for stamping, for coloring, for inking, anything. Nothing sticks to it, so, and it wipes up super easy. Even embossing paste that gets a little bit dry on that, it wipes up pretty well. So I just wanted to try to minimize the ink that gets onto the card, which of course it always does because it's me. So I wanted to use a Zig 2A glue pen to glue the icing down onto the top of the donuts. So I just went through all three of them and glued the icing down. There's really no wrong way to put the icing on top of these donuts. It actually is pretty uniform, so you can pretty much put it wherever. And then the 3 donuts. I think they came out so cute. I love the craft color. So I'm just referencing the sketch again, and you notice that the sentiment is supposed to go through the middle, but I didn't really do it that way. I did it a little bit different, and you'll see in a minute. So now I just want to glue my 3 donuts down to the front of the card. I'm going to glue probably 3/4 of that donut down to the card base. And then the other 2 donuts using my Zig 2A glue pen. Which if you guys don't own one of these are fantastic. I love using these to glue down little pieces, big pieces too. There it is. So I'm going to take my cutter bee scissors and I'm going to cut away the excess of the donut. And sorry it's not in frame. It was just hard to see. Oh. So that kind of gives it that curved shape that the other, that the sketch showed. So what I was doing there was showing you that if you wanted to actually put that piece of donut in the on the card, you could have done it. You could have done a different color icing. And I thought I was going to use the Martha Stewart stamp press, but I decided to use my Misty, which is called the most incredible stamping tool invented. What you do is you put your paper down and you're going to put the stamp on top of it. Try not to put the magnets together because they are super, super powerful and they will break very easily. Luckily, mine have not broken yet. I'm going to knock on wood, but I have heard stories of people's breaking. So now if your stamp is really sticky like that one is, I've never used it before, it may pull up your paper. So just put it back down into place. I always keep it in the corner so that it's easy to reposition if something happens to it. So now I'm going to go get the Recollections Ombre ink because I wanted to be a little bit pink and a little bit purple. So I have the Recollections ink and it is the Color Splash Ombre ink pad, which it's pink to purple. And I just inked up the stamp, and the Misty is great for if you don't get stamping done correctly the first time, if you want to make the stamp darker, or if you want to do those layered flowers, the Misty is fantastic for that. Now when I stamped this, I got mostly pink. I barely got any purple. So what I did was I went back in with the ink pad and I went through and did purple on one side and then pink on the other. And then when you stamp it down, it actually just covers right over the old stamping and it looked great. I think that it turned out really, really well. I was really happy with it. And then it's really easy to wipe off. You can just take a damp baby wipe and wipe off the excess ink on the side. So that's what it looks like. So I got the pink and the purple in there, and I thought that it looked fantastic. So I just put my Misty aside, and I cleaned it a little bit later on. Now I wanted to stamp the sentiment in the inside, which is from that Donuts and Sprinkles stamp set. And I wanted to use the same pink and purple. I didn't want to use the Misty again because it wasn't really a big stamp and I thought that this was probably easier. But I did get ink on the little feet of the Martha Stewart stamping tool, so I did get a little bit of ink where it shouldn't have been on the corners, and you'll see that in a second. So I just pressed it down onto the inside of the card, and there you go. Don't know what I would do without you. So there's the sketch, there's the card. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit subscribe. And I will see you guys real soon for another video. Bye!